It started as a simple panel talk, a discussion on the state of black art. But when Dr. Umar Johnson took the mic, the air shifted. His words weren't calm. They were a warning. We got artists out here who the people follow like prophets. And yet they feed the same poison they claim to fight. Then he said the name Kendrick Lamar. The crowd froze. Cameras zoomed in. The audience gasped. What followed was not just a debate, it was a cultural earthquake. Within hours, #DRUMARVs, Kendrick trended across every platform. Clips of Umar's passionate speech flooded TikTok while fans demanded Kendrick respond. But behind closed doors, the tension ran deeper. Ideology versus art. Legacy versus rebellion. Consciousness versus chaos. And when Kendrick finally responded, his words didn't calm the storm. They made it explode. Tash, Dr. Umar Johnson, #Kendrick Lamar, #culture clash, #hip-hop. Debate. The auditorium lights dimmed. Hundreds of faces turned toward the stage, cameras already lifted, waiting for the moment. The event, The State of Black Art, Power, Purpose, and Profit, was supposed to be a calm, intellectual panel, a space for reflection. But the moment Dr. Umar Johnson leaned into the microphone, everyone felt something electric in the air. He didn't come to talk, came to warn. "We've got to stop pretending," he began, his voice echoing with the authority of a preacher and the rhythm of a sermon. "The culture is being hijacked, and the problem is it's not being hijacked by outsiders anymore. It's being poisoned from the inside." A murmur rippled through the audience. The camera operators glanced at each other. They could feel it too. Then Umar continued, his tone sharpening. "We used to have leaders. Now we got lyricists trying to replace prophets. They don't read, they don't build, they don't teach, they perform. Then the people worship the performance more than the message." The audience was silent. No one dared interrupt. And then, with perfect precision, he said it. "Kendrick Lamar." The room gasped. A few shouted, "Come on, Doc." Someone in the back whispered, "He didn't just say that." Umar didn't flinch. He looked directly into the nearest camera, knowing millions would soon see this clip. Kendrick Lamar is a lyrical genius, no question. But genius without guidance is dangerous. When the youth follow you, your words are weapons. So ask yourself, are you freeing them? Or are you just feeding them new chains? The tension in the room became a living thing. He continued. He talks revolution, but signs with corporations that profit from pain. He raps about freedom, but sells the soundtrack of struggle to billionaires. That's not liberation, that's exploitation disguised as art. Half the audience erupted into applause. The other half booed loudly. Phones recorded from every angle. #Umar Johnson began trending within 15 minutes. Backstage, an organizer whispered to another, "He just started a war." And he had, by the time the clip hit X, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, it had already fractured the internet into two sides, #Team UMAR and #Team Kendrick. Supporters of Umar flooded the comments. Finally, someone said it. Kendrick's been commercialized for years. Art without direction is deception. But Kendrick's fans fired back instantly. This man clearly doesn't understand art. Kendrick has done more for the culture than most leaders. At Dr. Umar Johnson, stay in your lane, bro. Influencers, podcasters, and hip-hop analysts joined in. Everyone wanted a piece of the conversation. On The Breakfast Club, Charlemagne thought God couldn't resist bringing it up. Dr. Umar called out Kendrick Lamar directly, said he's misleading the people. That's heavy. I mean, Umar's never been afraid to talk, but this one might have gone too far. DJ Envy leaned in. "You think Kendrick gonna respond?" Charlemagne smirked. "If he does, it's gonna be chess, not checkers." Meanwhile, deep in Compton, inside a dimly lit studio, Kendrick Lamar was reportedly watching the clip. Sources close to him said he sat quietly, headphones around his neck, replaying the words, "Are you freeing them or are you feeding them new chains?" He didn't say a word, just stared at the screen, then muttered. So that's how he sees it. A producer in the room told at Hip Hop DX anonymously, he didn't seem angry, he seemed disappointed, like someone who just got misunderstood by the teacher he respected most. Because, truth be told, Kendrick had always admired Dr. Umar's work. His references to Black liberation, mental chains, and self-awareness often mirrored Umar's philosophies. But hearing him call out "you," that cuts deep. Back online, Umar doubled down. He posted a 3-minute Instagram video captioned, "If you speak to the people, you must also answer to the people." In the video, he said, "Don't twist my words. I'm not attacking Kendrick Lamar the artist. I'm challenging Kendrick Lamar the influencer. Too many of our so-called voices of resistance are paid by the same system they claim to resist. That's not hate, that's accountability." The comments exploded. Emojis, think pieces, conspiracy threads, even a few verified rappers chimed in. At Lupa Fiasco commented, "Accountability isn't disrespect, it's how we grow." At Cardi B posted a cryptic tweet that read, "Sometimes the loudest lectures come from the most silent achievers. Just saying." It's got to OK likes in an hour. Within days, news outlets picked it up. Bet Complex, The Source, Hot New Hip Hop, Shade Room. All ran variations of the same headline. Dr. Umar Johnson calls out Kendrick Lamar for misleading the people, fans divide over message. Podcasts debated whether Umar was jealous, outdated, or brutally honest. TikTok edits began remixing his quotes over Kendrick beats, especially one line that went viral. "If the oppressor funds your freedom, are you really free?" That sound alone was used in over 50,000 videos. But here's where it got serious. 2 nights later, Kendrick's team received an email invitation to a televised cultural panel in New York, moderated by Angela Rye, inviting both Kendrick and Dr. Umar to discuss the role of conscious art in modern Black America. The internet lost its mind. Hashtag Kendrick vs. Umar trended overnight. Even celebrities weighed in. A Diddy posted, "We need this convo, two powerful minds. Don't let the system twist it." At J. Cole tweeted, "Iron sharpens iron." And then, quietly, Kendrick's Instagram story lit up. A black background, white text. 7 words. "Truth don't need permission to speak. No tag, no caption." But everyone knew that was aimed at Dr. Umar Johnson. It was calm, controlled, Kendrick-style precision. But behind that sentence, the entire hip-hop world sensed something brewing. By the next morning, a new headline appeared. Dr. Umar Johnson responds to Kendrick's story. The truth also needs direction. And just like that, the debate had officially become a dialogue. 2 brilliant Black voices, one from the APIA streets, one from academia, now standing on opposite ends of the same question. What does it mean to lead the people? The stage was set. The cameras were ready. And for the first time in years, hip-hop wasn't waiting for a beat. It was waiting for a conversation. The fire had been lit, and this time, the mic wasn't just a tool, it was a weapon. Dr. Umar Johnson, hashtag Kendrick Lamar, hashtag culture debate, hashtag conscious rap, hashtag Black Art Matters, hashtag leadership vs. lyrics, hashtag hip hop revolution, hashtag Oklahoma, hashtag the message. The night of the broadcast felt like history. The stage was minimal, 2 chairs, 1 microphone each, and a glowing backdrop that read, "The role of conscious art in modern Black America." No backup dancers, no hype men, no distractions. Just Dr. Umar Johnson and Kendrick Lamar, seated across from each other under the kind of silence that felt heavy enough to break. Moderator Angela Rye adjusted her earpiece. The countdown flashed, 3, 2, 1. "Live, ladies and gentlemen," she began. For the first time ever. 2 voices shaping modern Black thought. Kendrick Lamar and Dr. Umar Johnson are here to discuss art, responsibility, and the future of the culture. The audience applauded cautiously. Some cheered for Kendrick, others for Umar. But everyone was here for one thing, the truth. Angela looked toward Umar. Double quotes Dr. Johnson. You've been very outspoken about your belief that some artists, including Kendrick Lamar, are misleading the people. Would you like to elaborate? Umar leaned forward, eyes sharp, voice steady. Thank you, Sister Angela. And to Brother Kendrick, I want you to know this is not about ego. This is about accountability. The audience hummed in anticipation. Cameras zoomed closer. Kendrick Umar said, I grew up believing art was a weapon for liberation. But when I look around today, I see our youth hypnotized, quoting lyrics, not reading history. You speak of freedom, yet your message is distributed by corporations that exploit our pain. You talk of empowerment, yet your visuals mirror trauma. So I ask you, are you leading the people or entertaining them while they're led elsewhere? Gasps rippled through the crowd. Kendrick sat still for a moment, elbows on his knees, hands folded. Then, softly, he said, with all due respect, brother, I ain't never claimed to be a preacher. I'm a poet. And a poet ain't supposed to fix the world. He's supposed to reflect it. Applause erupted, mostly from younger fans in the back. Kendrick continued, his tone calm but deliberate. You talk about exploitation. I see it too. But you think silence protects us. Silence protects them. My words might make you uncomfortable, but that's how healing sounds before it starts working. Dr. Umar adjusted his glasses. But what if that discomfort becomes a drug, Kendrick? What if people start mistaking pain for progress? Kendrick nodded slowly. Then that's on them. I don't make music to babysit thought. I make it to wake it up. The audience broke into applause again. Louder this time. This time. Angela raised a hand. Gentlemen, let's unpack that. Dr. Johnson. Are you saying artists like Kendrick have a moral obligation beyond expression? Umar leaned back, his voice rising in rhythm, preacher-like again. Absolutely. Because when your words reach millions, they stop being yours. They become the people's food. And if you're feeding poison, even poetic poison, you're responsible for the sickness that follows. Kendrick looked straight at him now, his tone firm. But who decides what's poison? You, a system that don't even feed its own. The crowd gasped again, a mix of awe and shock. Umar didn't blink. Truth decides, Kendrick. Not me, not the system, truth. And truth is not subjective when it comes to liberation. Kendrick smiled faintly. Then maybe you ain't listening close enough, brother. I've been speaking truth. I just ain't preaching it from a podium. I'm whispering it through rhythm. He leaned forward, voice lowering, intimate, almost like a verse. The pen moves where pain hides. And if my people find a piece of peace in the chaos, then I did my job. The audience stood, half clapping, half speechless. During the commercial break, social media exploded. Hashtag Kendrick Umar hit #1 trending within 8 minutes. On X Twitter, @RevoltTV tweeted, "This ain't a debate. This is a mirror." At Charlamagnethag posted Dr. Umar and Kendrick giving the world a masterclass on consciousness. Salute both kings. Hashtag the conversation. At Cardi B wrote, "This the type of talk we need. Not beef, but real thought. Hashtag respect both." Even at J.Cole chimed in, "That's what happens when wisdom meets poetry." When they returned from break, Angela turned to Kendrick. "You've been accused of being too abstract, of hiding meaning behind metaphors instead of direct messages. How do you respond to people who say that keeps the movement confused?" Kendrick exhaled deeply. "The movement ain't confused. It's complex. You want clean answers? I give raw ones. I speak in mirrors so the people can see themselves. Art ain't supposed to be instructions. It's supposed to be interpretation." Dr. Umar raised a finger. "But, brother, interpretation without education leads to chaos." Kendrick smiled slightly, as if he expected that line. "And education without empathy leads to dictatorship." The crowd erupted again, Cameras panned across the audience, some nodding, some taking furious notes. At one point, Angela asked the question that would go viral everywhere. If you two could agree on one thing about the role of black art today, what would it be? Silence. Kendrick looked at Umar. Umar stared back. For a moment, they weren't adversaries, they were echoes of the same struggle. Finally, Kendrick said softly that the mic is sacred. Dr. Umar nodded, and that the people are sacred. Applause thundered through the room. After the debate, clips flooded every feed. The line "education without empathy leads to dictatorship" became a viral TikTok sound. Hashtags like #SacredMic and #SacredPeople filled timelines, but not everyone was celebrating. Some pundits accused Umar of attacking art he didn't understand. Others said Kendrick deflected instead of addressing real responsibility. One headline from The Root read, "Dr. Umar exposes Kendrick's moral dilemma, the price of poetic power." Another from Complex countered, "Kendrick Lamar silences critics with grace. Art is his activism." Wasn't just a clash anymore, it was a cultural referendum. That night, back in his hotel, Dr. Umar scrolled through the endless reactions. He paused on one clip of Kendrick saying, "I don't make music to babysit thought." He whispered to himself, almost smiling, maybe he's not the problem. Maybe the silence around him is. At the same time, across the city, Kendrick sat alone in his studio, staring at the whiteboard. On it, one phrase circled 3 times. The sacred mic. He picked up a pen, wrote something beneath it to lead without forcing, to speak without preaching, K. And then he turned to his engineer. "Pull up that beat from last night. We got work to do." The red light came on. Recording started, and once again, silence began to shape sound. Dr. Umar Johnson, #Kendrick Lamar, #the sacred mic, #culture, vs consciousness. #Black Art Matters, #leadership and lyrics. Oklahoma Speaks. It had only been 48 hours since the televised debate. Yet it felt like a cultural earthquake had struck. Clips of Dr. Umar Johnson and Kendrick Lamar sparring over the responsibility of art were now everywhere, dissected by podcasters, reaction channels, and professors alike. But what no one expected was that Kendrick wasn't done speaking. That Friday at midnight, without any promo, he dropped a surprise track titled "The Sacred Mic" on all platforms. No features, no hooks, just a 4-minute storm of bars layered over a haunting, minimal beat. The opening line alone sent chills through listeners worldwide. They love to quote my message, but they skip my method. Preach to save the people. I just let M see the lesson. Within minutes, Twitter, now X, ignited. #The Sacred Mic hit #1 trending globally by 117. A.M. at Genius tweeted, "Kendrick responds to Dr. Umar in poetic precision. Silence protects them. That line's a dagger." At Revolt TV posted, "This ain't beef. This is philosophy in 808s. #The Sacred Mic." And at Dr. Umar Johnson himself, to everyone's shock, tweeted a single response. "I hear you, brother. Let's see if the people do." The tweet gained over 600,000 likes in 2 hours. By morning, social media was in a frenzy. Hip-hop commentators called it one of Kendrick's most powerful open letters, says The Heart Part 5. But to Umar's followers, it was something more, a challenge to his authority. Popular YouTube personality named @BlackIntellectTV uploaded a video titled, "Kendrick Lamar just sunned Dr. Umar Johnson," using a microphone. In it, he broke down the song's bars line by line, pausing on one that said, "You want soldiers? Then build M. Don't blame the artist for the system. It's too many." This was a direct rebuttal to Umar's claim that Kendrick's music fed confusion. But to others, it was a bridge, not a burn. Meanwhile, inside his Philadelphia office, Dr. Umar was silent. Stacks of messages filled his inbox. Journalists, podcasts, even universities asking for statements. His assistant asked quietly, "Should we draft a response video?" Umar didn't look up. He was watching Kendrick's live studio session replay on YouTube, the part where Kendrick spoke softly into the mic before recording. The pen moves where pain hides. Umar leaned back, rubbing his temple. "The brother's not lying," he muttered, "but the truth needs direction." After a long pause, he stood up. "Book me a live tonight." At 8 p.m. sharp, Dr. Umar went live on Instagram. Over 200,000 viewers tuned in instantly. The numbers kept climbing. He began with calm authority, voice resonating through every device. "Brothers and sisters, peace and love. I've seen the response from our dear brother Kendrick Lamar. I listened carefully 3 times. And I want to say something clear. This isn't war. This is evolution." Chat flooded instantly. Respect between kings. Finally, peace talk. Umar continued. "See, the problem ain't Kendrick Lamar. The problem is the silence surrounding artists like him. The system sells the message without funding the movement. The corporations profit while our people debate poetry instead of building schools, hospitals, and institutions." He leaned closer to the camera. "Kendrick's pen has power, no doubt. But the pen alone can't save us. The pen must connect to policy. The mic must link to movement." Then, almost unexpectedly, he smiled. "And if that's what Brother Kendrick meant by sacred mic, then I stand corrected. Because sacred means responsibility. Sacred means purpose." The chat exploded again. At Hip Hop Daily, this is grown man talk. At Kendrick Updates, so no beef, just brilliance. Umar concluded with words that would echo across hip-hop discourse for days. "Our disagreement wasn't division, it was reflection. And reflection is how revolutions start." He ended the live. 2 hours later, Kendrick posted a single photo on Instagram, a black and white image of a microphone wrapped in red cloth. The caption read simply, "Reflection is revolution. Hashtag sacred mic within moments." Dr. Umar Johnson liked the post. Fans couldn't believe it. At Rappler tweeted, "Dr. Umar and Kendrick just squashed it in the most intellectual way possible." At TDE Top Dog Entertainment reposted the same image with the caption, "History. Hashtag sacred mic." But the story didn't end there. Behind the scenes, Bet and The Breakfast Club both reached out to host a joint interview between the two men, a deeper dive into art, activism, and accountability. Rumors swirled that Kendrick wanted to collaborate with Umar on a spoken word visual project, blending poetry and lecture, something entirely new for hip-hop culture. Insiders whispered it might debut under a working title, Mic and Message. Fans started speculating. Was Kendrick planning a new concept album inspired by this exchange? Was Umar going to narrate the intro? One viral tweet read, "We might be watching the birth of hip-hop's most intelligent era. Hashtag Kendrick Lamar." But as peace began to settle, so did controversy. A leaked email surfaced online, allegedly from a network executive claiming the original debate between Umar and Kendrick had been pitched as manufactured tension for ratings. Social media exploded. Again, at Culture Watch wrote, "Did the media set up two black visionaries to clash for clicks?" At Jockademics tweeted, "If that leak's real, the industry might owe both these men an apology." Neither Umar nor Kendrick addressed the leak directly. But Kendrick tweeted one cryptic line at midnight. They film the conflict but mute the context. And Umar reposted that tweet with a raised fist emoji. The next morning, Rolling Stone ran the headline, "Kendrick Lamar and Dr. Umar Johnson from Clash to Conscious Collaboration." And The Guardian wrote, "What began as confrontation has become one of the most profound dialogues in modern black media." Scholars began analyzing their exchange as a turning point, proof that hip-hop could host intellectual port. I can't love to host intellectual, emotional, spiritual debate at the same level as academia or politics. Even the younger generation, usually drawn to drama, started quoting Umar's line, "The pen must connect to policy." The mic must link to movement. Meanwhile, somewhere in Compton, Kendrick was back in the booth. He looked at the mic, the same one from the Navarro photo, and smiled quietly. "Ain't about winning," he said under his breath. "It's about widening the light." The beat kicked in. He started recording again, not for war, but for wisdom. # the sacred mic, # Kendrick Lamar, # Dr. Umar Johnson, # hip hop philosophy, # reflection is revolution. # mic and message, # poetic justice, # OK Llama speaks, # black excellence. 2 weeks later, the internet once again belonged to Kendrick Lamar and Dr. Umar Johnson. Bet confirmed the rumors. An exclusive statement dropped on their verified account. A collaborative short film titled Mic and Message, created by Kendrick Lamar and Dr. Umar Johnson, will premiere next month as part of our Voices of the Culture series. The project explores the relationship between music, message, and modern Black identity. Within minutes, # mic and message trended worldwide. At Complex posted, "This is unreal. From debate to collaboration, history in the making." At Rolling Stone added, "Kendrick and Umar turned confrontation into conversation, and conversation into creation." But not everyone was celebrating. In the background, corporate forces were moving fast. Executives at major labels weren't happy with Kendrick's recent moves. The spontaneous releases, the anti-industry rhetoric, the growing influence of thinkers like Umar. One anonymous insider told Billboard they can't control Kendrick anymore, and that terrifies them. As production for Mic and Message began in Los Angeles, the energy was electric. The concept was bold, a cinematic visual piece blending poetry, debate, and spoken word. Kendrick would narrate through rhythm while Umar would respond through philosophy. No scripts, no teleprompters, just truth, raw and unrehearsed. During filming, Kendrick stood in front of a single spotlight. His voice echoed in the empty warehouse. "They love the sound of our struggle, but fear the structure of our strength. So I rhyme in riddles so the truth can breathe between the beats." Then Umar's voice answered from the shadows. "Poetry without purpose is luxury. But when the poet wakes the sleeping soul, that's prophecy." The sound engineer froze mid-mix. Everyone in the room felt it. This wasn't entertainment. It was energy. Behind the scenes, though, the leak controversy was growing. An investigative journalist named Maya Green from The Intercept claimed she had proof that the original Kendrick-Lamar debate had been scripted for TV ratings by a media agency. Her article headline read, "Manufactured Consciousness." Inside the industry's attempt to monetize Black intellectualism, the internet went wild again. Was the original conflict fake? Had Kendrick and Umar been puppets in a corporate scheme only to turn the system against itself? Kendrick stayed silent. Dr. Umar I didn't single quotes too. He posted a video to his followers. They thought they could script the struggle. But what they didn't know is real consciousness can't be contained. What started as ratings turned into revelation. The post hit 2.3 million views in an hour. When Mic and Message finally premiered, the world stopped scrolling. The film opened with Kendrick sitting in an empty church, humming a melody that slowly became words. "We've been praying through pain so long." The echo became a song. As the camera panned, Umar entered, dressed in white, holding a single mic. He spoke softly. "The microphone is our modern pulpit. But when the preacher and the poet unite, the people listen differently." For the next 15 minutes, the two went back and forth, a rhythmic sermon that felt like both hip-hop and history class. Every verse carried weight. Every word had intent. Kendrick, "They said I'm misleading the youth, but who misled the schools?" Umar, "They told you to follow the system, but forgot to mention it was designed to fail you." The final scene faded out on both of them, standing side by side beneath a single glowing light. Kendrick whispered, "We don't need to agree. We just need to awaken." Umar responded, "Then let the awakening begin." The screen cut to black. Mic and Message appeared in bold white letters. The response was earth-shattering. YouTube crashed temporarily from the flood of viewers. Within 24 hours, Mike and Message had 37 million views. Critics called it a masterpiece, a revolution in dialogue, a bridge between generations. At Variety wrote, "For the first time in decades, art and activism stood in the same room and the world listened." Even political figures weighed in. At Barack Obama tweeted, "Incredible work by @Kendrick Lamar and @Drew Marginson prove that dialogue can heal division." But perhaps the most viral moment came from Kendrick's final verse, which fans looped endlessly across TikTok and Instagram. "You can cancel an artist, but you can't cancel awareness. You can silence a voice, but you can't mute the vibration." Meanwhile, industry insiders whispered about a power shift. Major networks began reaching out to more independent Black creators. Universities plan to include Mike and Message in social studies and music ethics courses. The culture had changed almost overnight, and though Kendrick and Umar rarely appeared together afterward, their bond remained. They had turned conflict into consciousness, and in doing so, created something immortal. One late night, Kendrick sat in his studio again, reading messages from fans, young people saying the project inspired them to start reading more, writing more, thinking deeper. He smiled, then turned to his engineer. "This was never about proving who's right," he said quietly. "It was about proving what's possible." He pressed play on a new beat, slow, spiritual, cinematic. Umar's voice sample echoed through the speakers. The mic must link to movement. Kendrick nodded. "Yeah," he whispered. "Now it's time to move." And once again, the recording light turned red, a signal not of conflict this time, but creation. Kendrick Lamar, #Dr. Umar Johnson, #Mike, and Message hashtag. The sacred mic, #Black consciousness. #reflection is revolution, #poetic prophecy, #culture reborn, #voices of the culture. And that is how a debate turned into a movement. From confrontation to collaboration, Kendrick Lamar and Dr. Umar Johnson reminded the world that when real voices rise, no corporation can control the truth. Their words didn't just echo, they evolved, reshaping how the culture thinks, feels, and fights for awareness. But the question now is, what happens next? Will more artists dare to turn conflict into consciousness? Or will the system find new ways to divide voices that challenge it? We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Whose perspective spoke to you most? Was it Kendrick's poetic rebellion or Dr. Umar's unapologetic discipline? Don't forget to like, share, and tag this under #Mike and Message, #Kendrick Lamar, #Dr. Umar Johnson, #culture reborn, #voices unite. Because in the end, the mic may drop, but the message never dies.